Your future is already taking instructions from a voice you rarely question, your own. It tells you that you are not ready, that you always fail, that other people are luckier, and that changing now is already too late. You think this voice is describing your life, but it is quietly deciding how you live it. Every thought you believe changes what you notice, what you attempt, and what you abandon. One thought repeated long enough becomes a belief. A belief repeated through action becomes a life. Before this audiobook ends, you will discover the hidden sentence that has been writing your tomorrow without your permission, and you will learn how to replace it. Subscribe to the Book Frog and stay until the end. Your future changes the moment your mind stops obeying your past. Chapter 1. Your life is following your most repeated thought. There is a thought you have repeated so many times that you no longer hear it. It appears before important decisions, difficult conversations, and opportunities that require courage. It may say, "I am not good enough," "Nothing ever works for me," or "It is already too late." You rarely question this thought because it feels familiar, but familiarity is not proof. A thought can live inside you for years and still be wrong. The real danger begins when that thought starts directing your attention. It decides what you notice, what you ignore, and what every situation means. Imagine that your repeated thought is, "Nobody respects me." You enter conversations expecting disrespect. Someone forgets to greet you, and your mind notices immediately. A friend disagrees with you, and you hear an attack instead of another opinion. You become defensive, people feel the tension, and they begin pulling away. Then you go home thinking, "I knew it, nobody respects me." The thought appeared to predict reality, but your reaction helped create the result. Perhaps your sentence is, "I never finish anything." You begin a new goal with excitement, but the moment progress becomes difficult, the thought returns. One missed day feels like proof that you have failed again. You stop before your ability has time to grow, and another unfinished goal becomes evidence against you. Soon, "I never finish anything" stops sounding like something you do. It begins sounding like who you are. This is how a thought becomes a life. It directs your attention. Attention influences emotion. Emotion affects decisions. Decisions become habits. Habits slowly create identity. Your life is not shaped by every random thought that enters your mind. It is shaped by the thoughts you repeatedly believe and obey. That is why two people can face the same difficulty and create different outcomes. One thinks, "This proves I cannot do it." The other thinks, "This is the part that will teach me." Both feel uncomfortable, but one withdraws while the other remains long enough to grow. Your new thought does not need to sound perfect or unreal. Telling yourself that you are unstoppable when you do not believe it will not help. A stronger thought can be simple. "I can handle this moment. I can complete one honest step today. I am allowed to begin before I feel ready." These thoughts do not pretend life is easy. They remind you that difficulty does not remove your ability to respond. Listen closely when something goes wrong. Suppose you make one mistake and immediately think, "I ruin everything." Notice what your mind has done. It has taken one event and turned it into your entire identity. Replace that sentence with something more accurate. "I made a mistake, but I am not a mistake. What can I correct now?" The event remains real, but it becomes a lesson instead of a final judgment about your worth. Take a quiet moment and complete this sentence. Whenever something important becomes difficult, I usually tell myself, "Do not search for an impressive answer. Listen for the sentence that appears automatically. Then ask what it makes you do. Does it make you delay, hide, overthink, seek approval, become defensive, or quit too early?" Finally, ask what that thought has already cost you. Once you see the pattern, create a sentence that leads toward action. Replace "I always fail" with "I can finish one step today." Replace "I am too far behind" with "My timing is different, but today still matters." Replace "I am not ready" With readiness will grow after I begin. The new sentence should not make you feel invincible. It should make your next action possible. Then give that thought evidence. Send the message you have been avoiding. Work for 20 minutes instead of waiting for motivation. Say no without writing a long explanation. Return after missing one day. Take one action that proves the old thought is no longer making every decision. The old sentence will return because it has had years of practice. Do not panic. A thought returning does not mean it is winning. It only means it is familiar. You can hear it and say, "That is the old story again." It may speak, but it will not choose for me. Your future begins changing when a fearful thought can enter your mind without controlling your behavior. Choose one better sentence today and prove it with one honest action. Because beneath every repeated thought lives a deeper story about who you believe you are. That story may have begun with failure, rejection, or words spoken by someone who never understood your worth. You may have carried their voice for so long that it now sounds like your own. But a story learned in the past does not have to become the identity you carry into your future. Chapter 2. The story in your head is becoming your identity. You were not born believing that you were difficult to love, too weak to succeed, always behind, or destined to fail. Most of these beliefs began as stories your mind created from something that happened to you. Maybe someone repeatedly compared you with another child. Maybe a teacher embarrassed you when you gave the wrong answer. Maybe someone you trusted rejected you without explaining why. Maybe you worked hard for something and still failed. The event hurt, but the meaning you attached to it stayed much longer. You did not simply think, "That person rejected me." You began thinking, "People always leave me." You did not simply think, "I failed at this." You decided, "I am a failure." You did not simply think, "Someone treated me as if I were unimportant." You began living as though your needs did not matter. That is how an experience becomes an identity. Something happens once, but the story created from it is repeated for years. The mind loves conclusions because conclusions create a feeling of certainty. Even a painful answer can feel safer than having no answer. When someone leaves without explaining, the mind may decide, "I was not enough." When people criticize you, the mind may conclude, "I must keep everyone happy to be accepted." When you struggle, it may say, "People like me never succeed." These stories often begin as protection. If you believe people will always leave, you may avoid becoming emotionally close. If you believe failure proves you are worthless, you may stop trying anything uncertain. If you believe your value depends on approval, you may become whoever other people want you to be. The story tries to protect you from experiencing the same pain again, but it does so by making your world smaller. Consider someone who was laughed at while speaking in front of a class. The moment lasted only a few minutes, but the embarrassment became a story. "When I speak, people judge me." Years later, this person remains silent during meetings, avoids sharing ideas, and lets opportunities pass. Nobody in the new room knows what happened in that classroom, but the old audience is still controlling the person's voice. The event ended. The story continued. This may be happening inside your life right now. You may still be trying to prove yourself to someone who stopped watching years ago. You may still be afraid of disappointing a person who no longer has authority over you. You may still be answering a criticism spoken by someone who did not understand what their words would become inside your mind. The voice sounds like yours now, but it may have begun with someone else. Ask yourself, who first made me feel that I was not enough? When did I begin believing that I had to earn love, hide my emotions, avoid mistakes, or become perfect before I could feel worthy? Do not ask these questions to blame your past for everything. Ask them so you can stop allowing the past to make decisions it no longer has the right to make. There is an important difference between what happened and what you decided it meant. What happened may be true. Someone may have betrayed you. You may have failed. You may have been ignored, underestimated, or abandoned. Healing does not require you to pretend those experiences were harmless, but the identity you created from them may not be true. I was rejected is an experience. I am unlovable is a conclusion. I failed is an event. I will never succeed is a prediction. Someone did not value me describes their behavior. I have no value turns their behavior into your identity. When you separate the event from the story, you take back the power to decide what the experience will mean from this point forward. Think of one painful experience that still affects how you see yourself. Describe what happened using only facts, without judgment. Then notice the sentence you created from it. Perhaps you decided, I cannot trust anyone, my voice does not matter, or I have to be perfect to be accepted. Now ask a more honest question. Is this sentence the complete truth, or is it a wounded interpretation that became familiar? You may discover that the story leaves out important evidence. Perhaps some people rejected you, but others stayed. Perhaps you failed once, but you also learned, adapted, and survived. Perhaps someone treated you poorly, but their inability to value you says more about their capacity than your worth. A stronger story does not erase what happened. It places the event inside a larger truth. Instead of saying, people always leave me, you can say, some people left, but I am learning to recognize those who are capable of staying. Instead of saying, I am a failure, you can say, I have failed before, but failure is something I experienced, not something I am. Instead of saying, my voice does not matter, you can say, some people ignored my voice, but I no longer need their permission to use it. Notice that these new stories are not fantasies. They are more complete than the old conclusions because they include your power, growth, and choice. Your identity is not a prison sentence handed to you by the worst thing that happened. It is a relationship you build through what you repeatedly believe and practice. If you have spent years calling yourself lazy, weak, awkward, unlucky, or broken, stop and examine the label. Labels make change feel impossible because they turn behavior into identity. Saying, I have been avoiding this responsibility leaves room for a different choice. Saying, I am lazy makes avoidance feel permanent. The words I am should be used carefully. Whatever follows them begins shaping the role you expect yourself to play. This does not mean you must call yourself confident when you are afraid. You can say, I am learning to act while afraid. You do not need to claim that you are completely healed. You can say, I am becoming someone who no longer abandons themselves. You do not need to pretend that trust comes easily. You can say, I am learning to trust slowly and wisely. An identity can grow before it feels natural. Each honest action gives the new story evidence. Every time you speak after years of silence, you weaken the belief that your voice does not matter. Every time you continue after making a mistake, you challenge the identity of failure. Every time you set a boundary, you prove that your needs deserve space. Every time you stop chasing someone who repeatedly rejects you, you show yourself that your worth no longer depends on being chosen by everyone. You do not rewrite your story by repeating beautiful words while living the same pattern. You rewrite it by choosing behavior that the old identity would never expect from you. At first, this may feel uncomfortable. The old identity is painful, but familiar. A new identity creates uncertainty because it asks you to behave differently. You may feel guilty when setting boundaries, nervous when speaking honestly, or afraid when accepting an opportunity. That discomfort does not mean you are becoming the wrong person. It may mean you are no longer playing the role your past assigned to you. You are not required to spend the rest of your life proving an old story correct. You can respect what happened without continuing to live inside its conclusion. The child who was ignored can become an adult who speaks clearly. The person who was abandoned can learn not to abandon themselves. The person who failed can become someone who tries again with greater wisdom. The person who once needed everyone's approval can learn to stand without applause. Your past may explain the story in your mind, but it does not have to write the ending. Yet old stories do more than describe who you believe you are. They also predict what you expect to happen. Once the mind believes, "I always fail," it begins imagining failure before you even begin. Once it believes, "People always leave," it starts preparing for abandonment before anyone has gone. The story of yesterday quietly becomes a rehearsal for tomorrow, and a future repeatedly rehearsed in fear can begin controlling you before it ever arrives. Chapter 3. Stop rehearsing the future you do not want. Some of your most painful moments have happened more than once. They happened first inside your imagination, where you experienced the rejection, failure, embarrassment, or loss before life had even decided what would happen. You see an unanswered message and imagine the relationship ending. You hear about a meeting and become certain you are in trouble. You consider trying something new and immediately picture yourself failing in front of everyone. Nothing has happened yet, but your body becomes tense, your breathing changes, and your confidence disappears. The future is still unknown, yet your mind has already filled it with the worst ending it could create. Worry often feels like preparation because it keeps the problem inside your attention. But repeating a frightening possibility is not the same as preparing for reality. Preparation produces a plan. Worry produces the same fear without creating a useful response. If you spend an hour thinking, "What if I fail?" you have not prepared yourself to succeed. You have only practiced feeling defeated. This habit may have begun because your mind wanted to protect you. It believed that if it could predict every painful outcome, nothing would surprise you. If it expected disappointment, perhaps disappointment would hurt less. If it imagined rejection first, maybe you would feel prepared when it happened. But expecting pain does not remove pain. It often makes you experience it before there is any reason to. Imagine that you have an important interview. Days before it begins, your mind creates a movie. You forget every answer. The interviewer looks disappointed. You walk out feeling ashamed. You replay this scene until it feels less like imagination and more like a memory. When the real interview arrives, you enter the room carrying the emotions of an event that never happened. You speak too quickly, struggle to listen, and mistake every neutral expression for disapproval. Your mind says, "See, I knew this would go badly," but you did not know. You rehearsed fear so often that it affected how you entered the moment. The answer is not to imagine a perfect interview where everyone admires you and nothing goes wrong. That creates another fantasy. Instead, rehearse a useful response. Imagine yourself pausing before answering. Picture yourself admitting when you need a moment to think. See yourself remaining steady even if one question is difficult. Do not rehearse perfection. Rehearse presence. A strong mind does not promise that nothing uncomfortable will happen. It remembers that discomfort can be handled. When your thoughts begin asking, "What if everything goes wrong?" answer with a better question. If something goes wrong, what will I do? If the interview becomes difficult, you will breathe, slow down, and answer what you can. If someone rejects your idea, you will ask what can be improved. If a person leaves, you will grieve without abandoning yourself. If the plan fails, you will study what happened and make another decision. The words "what if" create endless uncertainty. The words "if it happens, I will" return your attention to your power. There is also a difference between what is possible and what is likely. Almost anything is possible, but fear treats every possibility as a prediction. A delayed reply could mean rejection, but it could also mean the person is busy, tired, distracted, or unsure what to say. One mistake could create a problem, but it does not automatically destroy everything you have built. Fear gives one explanation and presents it as the only explanation. When that happens, say, "This is one possible story, not a confirmed reality." Then name two other explanations. You are not forcing yourself to believe the best. You are reminding your mind that it does not have enough information to declare the worst. This matters because your behavior changes when you mistake imagination for evidence. You may accuse someone before understanding them. You may refuse an opportunity because you expect embarrassment. You may leave a good situation because you are afraid it will eventually become painful. Sometimes people do not lose opportunities because they lacked ability. They lose them because they emotionally lived through failure before they gave success a chance. Notice the future you repeatedly rehearse when you are alone. Do you imagine being abandoned? Do you see yourself growing older without changing? Do you picture other people succeeding while you remain stuck? Do you imagine finally receiving an opportunity and then ruining it? That mental movie is showing you where fear has taken control of your imagination. Do not shame yourself for it. Fear becomes stronger when you are afraid of being afraid. Instead, observe the scene and ask, what is this prediction trying to protect me from? The answer may be humiliation, disappointment, rejection, uncertainty, or losing control. Then ask, what is this prediction preventing me from doing? It may be preventing you from speaking, beginning, trusting, applying, creating, or trying again. The mind is protecting you from possible pain by keeping you away from possible growth. You cannot build a new life while constantly rehearsing why it will fail. Try something simple when a fearful future begins playing in your mind. Pause and describe what is true right now. Not what may happen tomorrow, not what happened 5 years ago. What is true in this moment? Perhaps the truth is, I have not received an answer yet. That is different from, they have rejected me. Perhaps the truth is, I feel nervous about starting. That is different from, I am going to fail. Perhaps the truth is, I do not know how this will end. That is different from, this will end badly. Accurate language brings you back from imagination into reality. And reality, even when difficult, is usually easier to handle than 10 frightening futures happening at once inside your mind. Once you return to the present, choose the smallest useful action available. Prepare one answer. Make one call. Write one paragraph. Ask one clear question. Rest before making an emotional decision. Your mind may want certainty about the entire future, but life rarely gives certainty before action. You do not need to see the whole path to take the next honest step. Remember that imagination is not your enemy. The same mind that can create frightening futures can also create direction. Use it to rehearse courage. See yourself staying calm during discomfort, continuing after a mistake, and respecting yourself even when someone does not choose you. Imagine yourself acting wisely, not being rescued by luck. Then support that picture with behavior. Confidence grows when your mind receives evidence that you can meet reality. Each time you face something you once avoided, the future becomes less frightening because you trust yourself more. The goal is not to control every outcome. It is to stop allowing outcomes that have not happened to control you. Name things you fear may happen. Life contains rejection, mistakes, disappointment, and change. But suffering once in reality is enough. You do not need to suffer every possible ending in advance. Let tomorrow arrive before you decide it is against you. When fear begins writing the ending, remind yourself, I do not know what will happen, but I know I can meet what happens one decision at a time. Your mind cannot clearly shape a better future when it is constantly filled with images of disaster. And those images do not enter your thoughts by accident. They are strengthened by the conversations you replay, the people you listen to, the content you consume, and the environments that repeatedly hold your attention. Whatever enters your mind often enough eventually begins speaking in your voice. Chapter 4. Protect what enters your mind before it becomes you. Your mind has a door, but most people leave it open. Every opinion enters. Every frightening headline enters. Every comparison, complaint, insult, prediction, and image is allowed to stay. Then, after hearing the same messages repeatedly, people wonder why their own thoughts feel anxious, bitter, distracted, or hopeless. Not every voice deserves a permanent room inside your mind. You may believe that what you watch and hear disappears when the screen turns off or the conversation ends, but repeated exposure changes what feels important, normal, and possible. A message heard once may be forgotten. A message heard every day can begin sounding like your own belief. If you spend hours watching people display perfect lives, your ordinary life may begin feeling like failure. If every conversation around you is about betrayal, danger, and disappointment, you may start expecting pain everywhere. If you repeatedly listen to people who mock ambition, you may feel embarrassed about wanting more. The environment speaks, even when nobody is directly talking to you. Think about the first few minutes after you wake up. Before your mind has chosen a direction, you reach for your phone. You see bad news, someone's success, an unanswered message, an argument, and several reminders of what you have not achieved. Your feet have not touched the floor, but your attention already belongs to everyone except you. Then you carry that mental noise into the rest of your day. You feel behind before beginning. You feel worried about problems that are not yours to solve. You compare your private struggles with another person's carefully selected moment. By the time you try to focus, your mind is crowded with information that never deserved your first energy. Protecting your mind does not mean hiding from reality. It means choosing when, how, and how much of reality you allow to occupy your attention. You can remain informed without being mentally consumed. You can care about other people without carrying every problem inside your body. You can use social media without allowing it to decide your worth. The question is not simply, is this content good or bad? Ask, what does this repeatedly create inside me? After watching it, do you feel clearer or more confused? Do you feel inspired to act or pressured to compare? Do you feel peaceful enough to think or emotionally disturbed without any useful direction? Some information gives you knowledge. Other information only keeps you emotionally activated, so you continue consuming it. Attention is valuable, and many people are competing to control yours. They may use fear, anger, envy, or curiosity because strong emotions keep you watching. If you do not choose what deserves your attention, someone else will choose for you, and what repeatedly controls your attention eventually influences your thoughts. This is why protecting your mind sometimes requires small decisions that other people will never see. Muting an account that always leaves you feeling inadequate, leaving a conversation built entirely around gossip, turning off notifications while you work, refusing to reread a message that has already hurt you 10 times, choosing not to ask for advice from someone who always feeds your fear. These are not signs of weakness. They are acts of mental responsibility. You do not eat everything placed in front of you simply because it is available. Treat information with the same care. Something can be entertaining and still be harmful when consumed constantly. Something can be true and still be unnecessary for you to carry every hour. Pay attention to the people around you as well. You do not need to abandon everyone who has a difficult day or expresses a negative feeling. Real relationships include pain, frustration, and honesty. But there is a difference between someone sharing a struggle and someone building their entire identity around hopelessness. Some people bring every dream back to danger. You mention an opportunity and they explain why it will fail. You talk about changing and they remind you of who you used to be. You express confidence and they call it arrogance because your growth makes them uncomfortable. If you hear these voices often enough, you may start rejecting your own future before they have the chance to reject it for you. You can care about someone without allowing their fear to become your instruction. You can listen with compassion and still say, "That may be how you see it, but I need to decide for myself." Protecting your mind does not always require confrontation. Sometimes it means giving certain opinions less importance. You stop explaining your plans to people committed to misunderstanding them. You stop asking permission from those who benefit when you remain unchanged. You let their words pass through the room without allowing them to settle inside your identity. There are also environments that silently strengthen your weakest habits. A phone beside your bed invites distraction before intention. A workspace filled with interruptions makes focus harder. Constant access to people who demand immediate responses teaches you that everyone's urgency is more important than your priorities. You do not need perfect discipline when your surroundings can make the right action easier. Place the book where you can see it. Keep your phone away during focused work. Prepare the clothes that help you begin exercising. Remove the shortcut to the app that steals an hour from you. Spend more time in places where the person you want to become can breathe. Your environment should not require you to fight the same unnecessary battle every day. Begin by protecting the first part of your morning. Give your mind a few quiet minutes before opening the door to the world. Do not immediately ask what everyone else is doing. Ask what you need to remember. You might read one page that strengthens you, write down the most important action of the day, or sit quietly long enough to hear your own thoughts before other voices arrive. Even 10 protected minutes can change the direction of your morning because you begin from intention instead of reaction. Protect the final part of your evening as well. What you consume before sleep often becomes the emotional atmosphere you carry into the night. If the last thing you see is conflict, comparison, or frightening information, your mind is forced to process noise when it needs rest. Give your mind a calmer ending. Put down the screen. Review what went well. Write down what can wait until tomorrow. Let the day close without dragging every unfinished problem into bed. A protected mind is not an empty mind. Removing harmful input is only half the work. You must replace it with something that deserves to grow. Listen to people who tell the truth without destroying hope. Read ideas that challenge you to take responsibility instead of blaming everyone. Spend time with those who respect your goals, correct you honestly, and do not need you to remain small so they can feel secure. Choose inputs that make you more capable, not merely more emotional. This does not mean consuming motivational words all day. Inspiration without action can become another form of escape. The purpose of better input is not to make you feel powerful for a few minutes. It is to help you think clearly enough to live differently. One useful idea practiced is more valuable than 100 powerful messages forgotten. Notice what happens when you begin protecting your attention. At first, silence may feel uncomfortable. Without constant noise, you may meet emotions you have been avoiding. You may discover that distraction was preventing you from hearing your own dissatisfaction. Do not immediately fill the silence again. Stay long enough to understand what it is trying to show you. Perhaps you are tired of living for approval. Perhaps you have been consuming other people's dreams because you are afraid to begin your own. Perhaps you have been calling yourself confused when you were simply surrounded by too many voices. Clarity often returns when unnecessary noise leaves. Your mind is shaping your life, but your environment is constantly shaping your mind. Guarding your attention is therefore not a small habit. It is a decision about who will be permitted to influence the person you are becoming. Close the door to what repeatedly weakens you. Open it deliberately to what strengthens your courage, discipline, peace, and self-respect. But protection alone is not enough. Once the noise becomes quieter, you must give your mind a clear direction. You must stop thinking only from the fears and habits of your current self, and begin asking how the person you want to become would see, choose, and act in this moment. A protected mind must eventually become a directed mind. Chapter 5. Think like the person you are trying to become. The person you want to become is not waiting somewhere in the distant future. That person is waiting inside the decisions you are making today. You may imagine your future self as more confident, disciplined, peaceful, focused, and respected. You picture that person waking up with motivation, knowing exactly what to do, and no longer struggling with the fears that trouble you now. But your future self will not appear one morning and rescue you from your current habits. That person must be built through choices made while you still feel uncertain, distracted, afraid, and unprepared. You do not become confident and then speak. You speak while your voice is unsteady, and confidence grows from the evidence that you survived. You do not become disciplined and then begin. You begin when you would rather delay, and discipline develops from the promise you kept. You do not suddenly gain self-respect and then set boundaries. You set one difficult boundary, and self-respect becomes stronger because you finally protected yourself. The feeling often follows the action. This is why waiting to feel like your future self can keep you trapped. You may say, "I will begin when I am more motivated. I will speak when I feel confident," or "I will leave when I feel strong enough." But motivation, confidence, and strength are not always conditions that arrive before the decision. Often they are results created after it. The person you want to become is formed whenever you act according to a higher standard than your current mood. Begin by becoming clear about who that person actually is. Do not describe your future self only with attractive words. Successful, confident, and happy sound good, but they do not tell you how to behave. Turn each quality into something visible. If your future self is disciplined, what does discipline look like on an ordinary Tuesday when nobody is watching? Perhaps it means beginning work at the agreed time, even without excitement. If your future self has self-respect, perhaps it means not returning to someone who repeatedly humiliates you. If your future self is calm, perhaps it means pausing before answering, instead of allowing anger to choose the words. Your future identity needs behaviors, not decoration. Ask yourself, what does the person I want to become repeatedly do? Then ask the harder question, what do they no longer do? Perhaps they no longer spend the first hour of every morning reacting to a phone. Perhaps they no longer explain themselves to people committed to misunderstanding them. Perhaps they no longer abandon an entire goal because of one imperfect day. Perhaps they no longer use temporary emotions as permanent instructions. Growth requires both building and releasing. You cannot become focused while protecting every distraction. You cannot become peaceful while repeatedly reopening relationships that destroy your peace. You cannot become trustworthy to yourself while constantly negotiating away your own promises. There will be moments when two versions of you are present at the same time. The familiar version wants comfort, delay, approval, or escape. The developing version wants integrity, progress, courage, and peace. The old version will usually speak first because it has more practice. It will say, "Skip today, one day does not matter." It will say, "Send another message, maybe they will finally choose you." It will say, "Stay quiet, someone may judge you." It will say, "You have already made a mistake, so there is no point continuing." In that moment, do not ask, "What do I feel like doing?" Ask, "Which decision belongs to the person I am becoming?" This question creates distance between emotion and action. You can acknowledge what you feel without giving it complete control. You may feel like delaying and still begin. You may feel afraid and still speak. You may miss someone and still refuse to return to disrespect. You may feel discouraged and still complete the smallest part of the promise. Thinking like your future self does not mean ignoring emotion. It means allowing values to make the final decision. Imagine someone who wants to become physically healthier. Their current mind says, "I need to transform everything immediately." They create an extreme routine, follow it for 4 days, become exhausted, and quit. Then they use the failure to confirm that they lack discipline. Their wiser future self would think differently. That person would not ask, "What can I force myself to do for 4 days?" They would ask, "What can I repeat for 4 months?" The future self understands that dramatic effort is less valuable than sustainable consistency. Or imagine someone who wants to become confident. Their current mind believes confidence means never feeling nervous. They wait for fear to disappear before sharing an idea, meeting new people, or applying for an opportunity. Their future self understands that courage is not the absence of nervousness. It is the decision that something matters more than temporary discomfort. The difference between your current self and future self is often not ability. It is the quality of the questions being asked. Your current self may ask, "What if I fail?" Your future self asks, "What will I learn if I try?" Your current self asks, "What will people think?" Your future self asks, "What will I think of myself if I keep hiding?" Your current self asks, "How can I avoid discomfort?" Your future self asks, "Which discomfort will move my life forward?" Your current self asks, "Can I do everything?" Your future self asks, "What is the most important thing I can do now?" Better questions create better directions. Do not make the future self so perfect that you cannot recognize yourself inside that person. Your future self will still become tired, make mistakes, feel uncertain, and have difficult days. Growth does not turn you into a machine. It teaches you how to respond without destroying everything you have built. A disciplined person can miss a day without disappearing for a month. A confident person can feel nervous without becoming silent. A peaceful person can become angry without allowing anger to damage every relationship. A strong person can ask for help without feeling weak. Your future self is not someone who never falls. It is someone who knows how to return. That ability to return may be more important than the ability to remain perfect. Perfection makes one mistake feel fatal. A stronger identity says, "I left the path for a moment, but I still know where it is." Stop measuring your transformation only through dramatic results. Notice the moments when you respond differently. Perhaps you paused before sending an angry message. Perhaps you worked for 30 minutes when the old version of you would have delayed the entire day. Perhaps you allowed someone to misunderstand you instead of exhausting yourself with explanations. These moments may not look impressive, but they are evidence that your identity is changing. Every decision is not equally important, but every repeated decision teaches you something about yourself. When you repeatedly keep small promises, your mind begins seeing you as reliable. When you repeatedly face discomfort, your mind begins seeing you as courageous. When you repeatedly protect your peace, your mind learns that you no longer accept anything simply because you fear being alone. Identity grows from evidence. Choose 3 words that describe the person you are becoming. Perhaps calm, disciplined, and self-respecting. Then define one behavior for each word. Calm may mean waiting 10 minutes before responding when you are angry. Disciplined may mean completing your most important task before entertainment. Self-respecting may mean not chasing people who only notice you when they need something. Now those words are no longer wishes, they are instructions. When a difficult moment arrives, you do not need to solve your whole life. Ask what those 3 qualities would look like during the next 10 minutes. Your future is built at that scale. 1 conversation, 1 decision, 1 protected hour, and 1 promise kept when nobody is applauding. There will be times when the old identity feels stronger. That does not mean you have failed. It means you are standing at the exact place where change happens. If the decision were already easy, it would not require a new version of you. Think of your future self as someone watching your choices with understanding, not judgment. That person knows how difficult this stage is because they were created here. Every time you choose courage over avoidance, consistency over mood, or self-respect over approval, you bring that person closer. Do not ask your future self to save you. Ask what you can do today to stop betraying them. The life you want is not built by thinking about a better identity while continuing to obey the old one. A thought can show you the direction, but it cannot walk the road. A powerful belief can open the door, but your behavior must carry you through it. Every better thought now needs a matching action. Without action, the future self remains an image. With action, that person begins becoming real. Chapter 6. Give every better thought a matching action. There is a dangerous distance between understanding something and doing something about it. Many dreams, promises, and life-changing ideas disappear inside that distance. You can understand that your thoughts shape your life. You can recognize the story that has been limiting you, stop rehearsing the worst future, protect your attention, and describe the person you want to become. But if your behavior remains unchanged, your old life receives no reason to move. A better thought can open your eyes, but only action can move your feet. This is why some people consume motivational content for years without changing. They feel inspired while listening. They imagine a stronger future and briefly believe transformation is close. But when the message ends, they return to the same habits, the same distractions, and the same delayed decisions. Inspiration gave them emotion, but they never gave inspiration a task. Every useful thought should produce visible evidence. If you think, "My health matters," there should be an action your body can feel. If you think, "I deserve respect," there should be a boundary someone can see. If you believe, "My future matters," there should be something you are willing to do today that your future will benefit from. Otherwise, the thought remains only an attractive sentence. Ask yourself a direct question whenever you learn something important. What would this idea look like as an action? If the idea is, "I need to stop overthinking," the action might be making the decision you have been delaying after gathering enough information. If the idea is, "I must protect my attention," the action could be removing one distracting application from your phone. If the idea is, "I need to trust myself," the action may be keeping one small promise before the day ends. Do not let your mind answer with vague language. "I will work on myself" is not an action. "I will improve my life" is not an action. Your mind can feel productive while hiding inside words that require nothing. An action has a time, a place, and a visible result. "I will walk for 20 minutes after dinner." "I will complete the first page before checking my phone." "I will send the application by 6 o'clock." I will tell them clearly that I cannot continue accepting this behavior. Clarity removes the hiding places where excuses survive. One of the strongest habits you can develop is giving every meaningful realization proof within 24 hours. The action does not need to complete the entire goal. It only needs to show that the thought has entered your life. If you realize that you want to learn a skill, choose the course, read the first page, or schedule the first practice. If you admit that a relationship is repeatedly damaging you, stop sending the message that reopens the wound. If you recognize that your finances need attention, review the numbers instead of avoiding them. A thought acted upon quickly becomes momentum. A thought delayed repeatedly becomes another promise your mind learns not to trust. The longer you wait between deciding and beginning, the more time fear has to negotiate. It will tell you that tomorrow is more suitable, that you need a better plan, that you should begin when your energy improves, or that one small step will not matter. Fear rarely says, "Never do it." That would be too obvious. It says, "Not yet," and "not yet," repeated long enough, becomes never. Close the distance between decision and movement. When you decide to do something small and useful, begin before your emotions organize an argument against it. Open the document, put on the shoes, dial the number, write the first sentence. Movement interrupts negotiation. Beginning does not guarantee that you will finish immediately, but refusing to begin guarantees that nothing changes. Many people make action difficult because they believe the first step must be impressive. They try to transform their entire life in one day. They create a demanding routine that requires perfect energy, perfect timing, and perfect discipline. When they cannot maintain it, they return to the belief that they are incapable. The problem was not their potential. The first promise was too large to survive an ordinary day. Your smallest action should be easy enough to begin when motivation is low, but meaningful enough to preserve your direction. If you cannot work for an hour, work for 10 minutes. If you cannot read a chapter, read 2 pages. If you cannot completely organize your life, clear one surface. If you cannot solve the relationship today, speak one honest sentence. A small action is not weak when it keeps the promise alive. This does not mean you should remain small forever. It means you should build from a foundation you can repeat. Once movement begins, you may continue longer. But even if you stop after the minimum, you have protected something valuable, the identity of someone who returns. Create a minimum promise for the difficult days. Decide what the smallest acceptable version of the habit looks like. On a good day, you can do more. On a hard day, you keep the minimum. This prevents one difficult morning, one painful conversation, or one low-energy day from destroying the entire pattern. Your mind learns from consistency more than intensity. A dramatic action proves what you can do once. Repeated action proves who you are becoming. Consider how self-trust is built. You tell yourself that you will wake up early, but you repeatedly silence the alarm. You promise to stop contacting someone who hurts you, but loneliness makes you return. You decide to complete an important task, but distraction takes the time you reserved. Each broken promise may seem small, but your mind is paying attention. Eventually, when you make another promise, a quiet voice says, "You will not keep this one either." That is not a permanent identity. It is a record of evidence. The way to rebuild trust is not through a bigger promise. It is through a smaller promise kept consistently. Do not promise yourself that you will change your entire life this month. Promise that you will complete one clear action today and complete it. Tomorrow, make another honest promise. Self-trust returns when your words and behavior begin agreeing again. Your mind does not need another speech about your potential. It needs proof that it can depend on you. This proof can be created in areas that seem unrelated to your biggest goal. Making your bed will not build your career, but keeping a small morning commitment can strengthen your relationship with your own word. Finishing a short workout will not transform your health overnight, but it can prove that discomfort no longer decides everything. Small actions become powerful when they teach a larger lesson. When I tell myself I will do something reasonable, I follow through. Be careful, however, not to use small actions as a way to avoid the important one. Cleaning your room can feel productive while you continue delaying the application that could change your future. Reading another book can feel like progress while you refuse to practice the skill. Planning can become a hiding place when action feels uncertain. Ask yourself, is this step moving me toward the result, or helping me avoid the step that frightens me? Sometimes the most useful action is not the easiest one. It is the one you keep placing at the bottom of the list because it carries the possibility of rejection, failure, or change. That difficult email, application, conversation, decision, or first attempt may contain more progress than 10 comfortable tasks. Courage grows when you stop organizing your day around avoiding discomfort. You will not always feel ready when the moment arrives. The action may still feel awkward. Your hands may shake, your voice may become unsteady, and your mind may continue producing doubts. Do not wait for those feelings to disappear. Let the action be imperfect. An imperfect application can be considered. An application that remains inside your mind cannot. An imperfect conversation can create understanding. Silence cannot express what you refuse to say. An imperfect first attempt can teach you something. Endless preparation only teaches you how to remain prepared. Reality gives feedback that imagination cannot provide. You may discover that the task is easier than expected. You may also discover that your first method does not work. Both outcomes are useful because action replaces assumptions with information. If it works, continue. If it fails, adjust. If it reveals that you need help, ask. If it shows that the goal is wrong for you, choose again. Action creates clarity. Overthinking often demands certainty before movement, but certainty is frequently produced through movement. You learn whether you enjoy the work by doing it. You discover your ability by using it. You understand a person's response by speaking honestly. You find the path by taking enough steps to see what the path contains. Do not require the future to explain itself before you participate in it. There will still be missed days. You will become tired, distracted, discouraged, or overwhelmed. A strong system does not assume that you will never fall out of rhythm. It prepares you to return. When you miss one action, do not turn the event into an identity. Do not say, "I have destroyed everything," or "I am back to being the old person." One missed day is information. It may show that the plan was unrealistic, the environment was unhelpful, or your energy needed recovery. Study the break without using it as permission to disappear. Ask what made the action difficult. Was the task too large? Was the time unclear? Did you depend entirely on motivation? Was your phone beside you? Were you emotionally exhausted? Change the conditions and return at the next available opportunity. The speed of your return matters more than the drama of your regret. Some people lose one day and spend the following week punishing themselves. Shame then becomes another reason to avoid the habit. Instead, respond quickly and calmly. "I missed the promise. I will repair it with the next action." A mistake does not need a speech. It needs a correction. You can also make action easier by preparing the environment before the moment of choice. Put what you need where you will use it. Remove what usually distracts you. Decide when the action will happen. Tell the necessary person. Place the commitment on the calendar. Do not expect willpower to defeat the same unnecessary obstacles every day. If you want to write in the morning, prepare the page the night before. If you want to exercise, place the clothes where they are visible. If you need a difficult conversation, choose the time rather than waiting for a perfect moment that will never arrive. Preparation is not a substitute for action when it ends in more preparation. It is useful when it makes the action easier to begin. Notice how your thoughts change after you act. Before beginning, your mind may say, "This is impossible." After 10 minutes, it may say, "This is uncomfortable, but I can continue." After several days, the sentence may become, "This is something I do." The action teaches the mind what the mind could not believe in advance. This is especially important when changing how you see yourself. If you have spent years thinking that you are weak, 100 affirmations may feel unconvincing, but one action taken while afraid creates a crack in that identity. Another action widens it. Eventually, the old label can no longer contain all the evidence against it. You become difficult to convince that you are powerless once you have watched yourself act with power. This does not mean every action must be productive. Rest can also be a matching action when your thought is, "My well-being matters." Saying no can be action. Asking for help can be action. Leaving a harmful environment can be action. Stopping before exhaustion can be action. The question is whether the behavior supports the truth you claim to believe. If you say your peace matters, but repeatedly enter unnecessary conflict, the behavior disagrees. If you say your goal matters, but give it only the time left after every distraction, the behavior disagrees. If you say you respect yourself, but continue begging for attention from someone who repeatedly dismisses you, the behavior disagrees. Your actions reveal which beliefs currently have authority. Do not use this truth to attack yourself. Use it to become honest. Where are your words and actions separated? Which promise has remained a sentence for too long? What would agreement look like today? Choose one area. Do not attempt to repair everything at once. Perhaps you believe you can create something meaningful. Open the page and work for 15 focused minutes. Perhaps you believe you deserve healthier relationships. Stop replying to the conversation that requires you to betray your dignity. Perhaps you believe your future can improve. Complete the task that future depends upon. Give the thought a body. Give the belief a behavior. Give the future a piece of evidence, then record that evidence. At the end of the day, do not only list what remains unfinished. Notice the moment when you acted differently. Write it down if necessary. Today I began before I felt ready. Today I kept a promise. Today I chose peace instead of proving myself. Today I returned. Your mind has spent years collecting evidence for your limitations. Begin collecting evidence for your growth. Over time, the question will no longer be, can I become this person? You will have actions that answer for you. You will remember the days you continued, the boundaries you protected, the fears you faced, and the promises you repaired. The future you once imagined will no longer feel like a stranger. You will recognize that person in your behavior. Thought shapes direction, but action shapes identity. When the two begin working together, change stops being something you only understand. It becomes something you can see. And when your actions repeatedly support what you have chosen to believe, you no longer need to convince yourself with words. Your life itself becomes the proof. Chapter 7. Become the proof of what you chose to believe. At some point, you must stop introducing yourself to life through your wounds. You are not only the person who was rejected, ignored, betrayed, embarrassed, or left behind. Those things happened to you, but they are not the complete definition of you. You are also the person who survived them, understood them, and now has the power to respond differently. Your past may explain the way you learned to think, but it does not have the right to decide how you will live forever. There comes a moment when healing can no longer remain something you only understand. It must become something people can see in the way you speak, choose, work, rest, leave, and return. You stop saying that you respect yourself and begin refusing what repeatedly destroys your dignity. You stop saying that your dream matters and begin protecting time for it. You stop saying that you want peace and begin ending the arguments that exist only to feed your ego. Your behavior becomes the proof. This proof is not created through one dramatic moment. It is created privately, when nobody is watching and no reward is guaranteed. It appears when you keep the promise after the excitement is gone. It appears when you choose the harder truth instead of the comfortable excuse. It appears when the old version of you returns with familiar reasons to surrender, but you do not give that version control. Real transformation is often quiet. It may look like closing the conversation instead of begging to be understood. It may look like getting out of bed when your mind says the day is already lost. It may look like working for one focused hour without telling anyone about your plans. The world may not notice immediately. That does not make the change less real. Some people will continue seeing you through the version they remember. They may remind you of your mistakes, expect your old reactions, or laugh when you begin behaving differently. Your growth may even make them uncomfortable because the role you once played made their life easier. When you always said yes, others benefited from your lack of boundaries. When you doubted yourself, they never had to question their own lack of courage. When you remained available after being disrespected, they learned that their actions had no consequences. Your transformation changes the relationship people are allowed to have with you. Do not expect everyone to celebrate that change. Some will test the new boundary because they are waiting for the old version of you to return. They will become angry when guilt no longer controls you. They will call you selfish when you stop abandoning yourself for their comfort. They may say you have changed, as if remaining hurt and powerless would have been better. Let them notice the difference. You do not need to prove your growth by arguing about it. A boundary explained 20 times becomes another request for permission. Calm consistency speaks more clearly than emotional speeches. Allow your life to answer. Becoming proof also means accepting that the old thoughts will not disappear forever. There will be mornings when you doubt yourself again. There will be moments when rejection touches the old wound, comparison steals your peace, and fear begins showing you everything that could go wrong. Do not treat the return of an old thought as the return of your old identity. A familiar thought can visit without moving back into your life. You can hear, "You are not good enough," and still submit the work. You can feel, "They may leave," and still refuse to chase. You can think, "You are going to fail," and still take the step. This is strength, not the complete silence of fear, but the loss of fear's authority. The strongest belief you can build is not, Everything will work exactly as I want. Life cannot promise that. People may disappoint you, plans may fail, opportunities may close. The belief that changes you is deeper. Whatever happens, I will not abandon myself. If success arrives, you will remain grounded. If failure arrives, you will learn without turning it into your identity. If someone leaves, you will grieve without begging them to restore your value. If the path changes, you will adjust without deciding your life is over. You become your own evidence that difficult moments can be survived with dignity. Think about the person you were when this journey began. Perhaps that person believed every negative thought, carried an old story as an identity, and suffered through imagined futures before they happened. Perhaps they allowed every voice into their mind, waited to feel ready, and made promises that action never supported. Do not hate that version of yourself. That person was using the understanding available at the time. They may have been protecting wounds they did not know how to heal. But gratitude for your past does not require loyalty to its limitations. You can thank the old version for surviving and still refuse to let that version lead. Say quietly, "You carried me this far, but I need a different way to continue." Then choose the standards that will guide you now. A standard is stronger than a mood because it tells you how you will behave, even when feelings change. You may not always feel focused, but you can have a standard that your most important work receives protected time. You may not always feel confident, but you can have a standard that fear does not make every decision. Standards remove the need to debate the same issue every day. Decide what you no longer negotiate. Perhaps you no longer negotiate with the alarm after getting enough rest. Perhaps you no longer send messages from panic. Perhaps you no longer return to places where your dignity must be exchanged for temporary attention. Your standards become the structure that holds your identity when emotions become unstable. Choose one statement that describes the person you are becoming. I am someone who keeps reasonable promises to myself. I am someone who can feel fear without obeying it. I am someone who protects my peace without becoming cruel. Then prove that statement through one action every day. Do this long enough for your mind to receive new evidence. Do not search for a feeling that tells you the transformation is complete. Look at the pattern. Are your decisions becoming more honest? Are you returning more quickly after difficult days? Are you abandoning yourself less often? That is progress. You will still make mistakes. You may speak from anger, delay something important, or return to a habit you thought you had left. When that happens, remember that a person with a stronger identity does not protect their ego by denying the mistake. They take responsibility and repair it. Say, "That choice does not represent the person I am building. I will correct it now." Apologize if necessary. Restore the boundary. Complete the delayed task. Remove the distraction again. The correction becomes more evidence than the mistake. The old you used failure as permission to disappear. The developing you uses it as information about what must be strengthened. This is how identity becomes resilient. It no longer depends on maintaining a perfect record. It depends on maintaining an honest direction. You may not control how quickly the results arrive. You can work consistently and still wait. You can act courageously and still be rejected. You can make wise decisions and still face uncertainty. Do not measure the value of your new mind only through immediate outcomes. Sometimes the first reward is not success, it is self-respect. You look at yourself after doing the difficult thing and realize, I did not run. You keep a promise without applause and realize, I can depend on myself. You leave what repeatedly hurts you and discover, loneliness is painful, but losing myself was worse. These moments change your relationship with your own identity. Eventually, you stop needing constant motivation because your behavior has become a form of memory. Your actions remind you who you are. You no longer need to argue that you are capable because you can point to the work. You no longer need to claim that you have boundaries because your decisions reveal them. You no longer announce the person you are becoming. You embody that person. Imagine how your life changes when your mind is no longer working against your direction. Your thoughts remind you of your ability instead of only your mistakes. Your imagination helps you prepare instead of frightening you into paralysis. Your environment protects what matters, and your daily actions agree with the future you claim to want. Problems will still exist, but you will meet them with a different identity. The same challenge that once destroyed your confidence may now reveal your patience. The same rejection that once made you chase may now strengthen your standards. The same uncertainty that once kept you frozen may now become a place where courage is practiced. Your life changes because the person meeting life has changed. Take a moment and remember the most repeated thought that has been controlling you. Hear it clearly one final time. Maybe it says, "I am not enough." Maybe it says, "I always fail. People always leave," or "It is too late for me." Now answer it, not with a fantasy, but with a decision. I do not need to feel enough to take one worthy action. Failure is something I can learn from. It is not my name. People may leave, but I will no longer leave myself. My past took time from me, but it will not take today. Then decide what action will make your answer true. Do not wait until tomorrow. Tomorrow is where the old mind has hidden every promise it never intended to keep. Give your new belief evidence while this message is still alive inside you. Write the first sentence. Close the harmful door. Begin the task. Make the appointment. Put the phone away. Speak the truth. Choose the action that tells your mind, "We are not living the old way anymore." This moment does not need to transform your whole life. It needs to change the direction of one decision. The direction repeated becomes a path. A path followed becomes a life. Your thoughts shaped what you noticed. Your story shaped who you believed you were. Your fears shaped the futures you expected. Your attention shaped the voices you heard. Your actions now have the power to shape the evidence you carry. From this point forward, let your life become the answer to every thought that once made you feel powerless. You are not waiting to become proof someday. Every honest decision is proof. Every promise kept is proof. Every boundary protected, fear faced, and difficult return is proof. What you think today can influence who you become tomorrow, but only when you are brave enough to live like the thought deserves to become true. Choose the belief, take the action, become the evidence, and let tomorrow meet someone your past never expected you to become. You began this audiobook with a painful question. Why do I keep promising myself that I will change, only to wake up and live the same way again? The answer was never that you were broken or incapable. Yesterday had simply been speaking inside your mind for so long that its voice sounded like the truth. But now you can hear the difference. You know that a familiar thought is not always an honest one. A painful experience is not your identity. Fear is not a prediction. Someone else's opinion does not deserve permanent control over your mind. And a better future is not created by waiting for a stronger version of you to arrive. That person is built through what you choose today. There will still be difficult mornings. The old thoughts will return and ask you to delay, hide, chase, compare, or surrender. Do not become frightened when you hear them. Their return does not mean that nothing changed. You changed when you stopped obeying them. You may still think, "I am not ready," but now you can begin. You may still fear rejection, but now you can protect your dignity. You may still make mistakes, but now you know that one mistake does not deserve the power to name your entire life. Growth is not the moment fear becomes silent. It is the moment your values become louder. Tomorrow will not be created by one perfect decision. It will be shaped by small, honest choices, repeated long enough to become your character. One promise kept, one distraction refused, one boundary protected, one difficult action completed before your mind can move it into another tomorrow. Do not leave this audiobook carrying only powerful words. Words can inspire you, but action must carry the message into your life. Before today ends, Choose one thought you will no longer obey. Then choose one action that proves it no longer controls you. If the thought says, "I always quit," return to one thing you abandoned. If it says, "My voice does not matter," speak one honest sentence. If it says, "It is too late," begin something before the day ends. You do not need to change everything tonight. You only need to stop allowing yesterday to make the next decision. Remember this: your future is not waiting for you to become fearless. It is waiting for you to move while fear is still present. It is waiting for you to stop asking the past for permission. It is waiting for your thoughts, standards, and behavior to finally move in the same direction. You have spent enough time proving your doubts correct. Begin collecting evidence for your strength. Let your life show that rejection did not remove your worth. Let your consistency show that failure did not destroy your ability. Let your boundaries show that loneliness will no longer make you abandon yourself. The mind you build today will enter every room with you tomorrow. It will shape what you notice, what you accept, what you attempt, and how quickly you return after falling. Guard it carefully, direct it honestly, support it with action. If this audiobook spoke to the part of you that is ready to change, comment, "My future starts today." Subscribe to the Book Frog, like this video, and share it with someone whose past has been thinking on their behalf for too long. But most importantly, take the action, because tomorrow does not begin when the sun rises. It begins in the thought you choose, the promise you keep, and the decision you make before today is over. What you think today, you become tomorrow. So choose carefully, act courageously, and become someone your past never believed you could be.